Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. Some of the worst situations in the world of precious metals have been happening over the past year. Spoofing, or defined as racketeering by prosecutors, is the act of placing a false buy order on the markets and canceling the order before it goes through. And we see some of the biggest banks, some of the biggest hoarders, some of the biggest individuals and companies in precious metals that can affect and influence the prices to very large degrees are doing this. So this article is going to explain a little bit about spoofing and what's been going on with JP Morgan, the Dutch Bank, and Merrill Lynch. So with that said, let's jump into it. So it starts off to say, probably yesterday's biggest precious metal story was not only the indictment of JP Morgan's precious metals trading desk on spoofing in the markets, but the extremely serious nature of charges being brought against the U.S. biggest bank. For years, there have been arguments and counter-arguments against whether there has been price manipulation in the precious metals market by big banks. This latest prosecution suggests strongly that spoofing is a key weapon in the manipulator's arsenal, and JP Morgan is no small regional bank, but perhaps the U.S. biggest, which appears to have made millions, if not billions, of dollars in these alleged activities. Spoofing is the practice of making huge buy and sell orders on the futures markets, thus substantially influencing prices, but then canceling the orders before they are executed. Prosecutors seem to be suggesting that such manipulative activities were inherited from the practices of Bear Stearns, which had taken over JP Morgan back in 2008 and have been going on ever since. Probably not in an enhanced level, but without mentioning the names of the banks concerned. However, it is 2 JP Morgan traders and their department head who have been indicted, and actually three of their employees were convicted as well. It is a punishable crime now. So according to Bloomberg report, the JP Morgan investigation grew out of a multi-bank U.S. crackdown on manipulation of commodities markets using techniques including spoofing. The Justice Department had already brought criminal charges against 16 people, including traders that worked for the Dutch Bank and UBS. 7 pleaded guilty. 1 was convicted in trial, and another one was acquitted. The latest indictments thus only be the tip of the iceberg in terms of large-scale manipulations in all kinds of markets. So they're saying that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is going on to extreme measures, and just because a couple people got arrested for it does not mean that we have solved this entire problem. In other words, Chris Powell of GATA, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, precious metals price manipulation goes much further in that the commercial banks, which are the prime movers in forms of market manipulation, are working in conjunction with many of the world's central banks keen to protect their domestic currencies from safe haven attraction of gold in particular. According to Powell, this means firstly that metals and minerals are underpriced along with most commodities because of the price suppression engineered by central banks to defend their currency and government bonds. Banks don't want you to invest into gold and silver. They want you to invest into their money because the dollar's only worth is how much people have faith into it. And if people lose that faith and transfer their money into gold and silver, the banks are threatened. Central banks and governments in development or in developed world don't want gold, silver, other metals, commodities to compete with their currency as store of value. And this is so true. So second, it means that there's a vast uncoverable short position in monetary metals and other strategic commodities. Thus, they have great potential for price appreciation. Third, means Western central banks are not likely to surrender this short position without a fight or another negotiated international currency revaluation. Fourth, since governments can create infinite money, it means that if you are trading against secret trading government, you are likely to lose. And fifth, it means that if a commodity price ever regained free markets, commodity producers should be prepared for stiffer royalty requirements and windfall profit taxes. And sixth, it means that people in the mining and commodity business have an obligation to their investors and clients to inform them of the opposition of major governments to free markets and higher commodity prices. It means we all have an obligation to clamor for governments to tell us the truth about their surreptitious interventions in these markets, for this price suppression works only through deception. And that is true. It only works if people are deceived to perceive it that way, if they're deceived that way. Because it depends entirely on the government for its mining claims, royalty requirements, and enforcement and environmental regulations. The mining industry and the industry most vulnerable to the government. Any government can shut down any mining company on any pretext at any time. Powell said back in 2008, there are no markets anymore, just interventions, applying the manipulations to all markets, not just those of precious metals. This has been born out of a number of prosecutions against traders in key global financial markets, and often accompanied by guilty pleas from the individuals indicted. What is perhaps unprecedented by the latest indictments is the language used by the prosecutions is in describing J.P. Morgan's precious metals desk as a criminal enterprise operating inside a bank, and the individuals indicted as partaking in a conspiracy to conduct affairs of an enterprise involved in the interstate of foreign commerce through a pattern of racketeering activity. For several years now, Ted Butler, who is a close follower of precious metals markets with the emphasis on silver, has described J.P. Morgan's market activities as criminal in the true sense of the word. It now seems that the U.S. prosecutors are taking similar position. And this is interesting because at first people were trying to say, well, spoofing isn't illegal. I mean, you have to spoof in the real estate market. You have to spoof in other areas. And they tried to make it seem like it's not that bad. But I'm glad that they're saying that it is criminal in the true sense of the word. But the J.P. Morgan employees and past employee who are the subject of indictment should probably be seen as mere implementers of an ongoing policy of which even more senior bank employees will have turned a blind eye. It is hugely unlikely that a part of business which is continually making enormous profits for the bank would not have raised eyebrows and received a tacit or even an approval. And however, top management is probably sufficiently insulated from activity of more junior staff members, the sacrificial lambs, to avoid prosecution, although the stigma will remain. One assumes that those who have been indicted will be rewarded for taking the fall. So, of course, J.P. Morgan is most probably not the only major bank who has indulged in this kind of activity. And I don't know when this article was written. Let's see. September 17th, 2019. But Merrill Lynch and the Dutch Bank have also been caught doing this as well. So, this is a warning for others to desist these activities. And similar activity by the big money may continue, although perhaps we'll see even more surreptitious in nature. So it's interesting because there's a lot of information here. One, that yes, precious metals are not at their natural price. They haven't been for a very long time. I mean, even in the 30s, when FDR changed the gold to silver ratio from 16 to 1 to 75 to 1, that was price manipulation at its finest. And now we see these people doing this and gaining millions of dollars, if not billions, like the article said. And even we saw JP Morgan do something like this with Bitcoin. They called Bitcoin a scam, saying don't buy Bitcoin, it's a scam, it's going to crash. And then right afterwards, when the price fell, because everyone sold their Bitcoin, JP Morgan ends up buying millions and millions of dollars in Bitcoins for cheap because the price has fallen from what they said. So they spread a rumor, knew that they could affect the price that way, and then after the price fell, they bought a whole bunch of it for cheap. And they got caught doing that because the blockchain stores every transaction on a public database. So this stuff is not it's not superficial. It's not conspiracy theory. This is real stuff. Their employees, this had 16 people actually got arrested. Like, this is an ongoing thing in trial with the courts, and it's a punishable crime, and people are actually going to jail for it and actually getting, caught. So when I talk about silver manipulation, it even mentions that it's not just this. There's many other people doing it in many other ways. So to fight against this, you really got to stand true to what you believe in and really understand silver's true potential, its true fundamental value that it has. But anyways, I'm curious what you guys think about this. I'm going to put the link to this article in the description if you want to review it yourself. I always put the links to the articles just in case I missed something or you guys want to further analyze it. But anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please make sure to smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. I do post daily videos. I posted another video earlier today. Make sure you guys go check that out. I think you guys will enjoy it. So thanks for tuning in. Once again, this was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.